Tae-Yang stood at the observation window of Nexus Prime, watching ships from 100 different worlds dock at the massive space station. He had been working here for 3 years now, studying alien species and helping humans understand their new neighbors in the galaxy. It still amazed him sometimes. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Coalition 15 years ago, and many aliens still looked down on humans as primitives. His communicator buzzed. It was Hana, his colleague from the Human Diplomatic Office. "Tae-Yang, you need to come to the main hall right now," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "What's happening?" he asked. "The Luminari are here. Princess Velnara herself. This is huge." Tae-Yang felt his stomach tighten. The Luminari were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They were beautiful, elegant, and terrifyingly advanced. Their empire controlled dozens of star systems. When they spoke, everyone listened. He made his way through the crowded corridors of the station. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved past him. Some nodded politely, others ignored him completely. A few gave him looks of barely concealed disgust. Humans were still not fully accepted here. The main hall was packed. Tae-Yang squeezed through the crowd until he found Hana near the front. She grabbed his arm and pulled him close. "Look," she whispered, pointing toward the entrance. Tae-Yang looked and forgot to breathe. Velnara entered the hall like a living star. Her skin glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed gently with her heartbeat. Her eyes were large and silver, reflecting the lights around her like mirrors. She wore flowing robes that seemed to be made of liquid light. Behind her walked a dozen attendants, all Luminari, all beautiful, but none compared to her. "She's here for the bonding selection," Hana explained quietly. "It's an ancient Luminari tradition. A royal chooses a partner from candidates across the galaxy. It's supposed to strengthen diplomatic ties." "Why here?" Tae-Yang asked. "Nexus Prime is neutral territory. The selection will happen in 2 weeks. Suitors from every major species are already arriving." Tae-Yang watched as Velnara moved through the crowd. Every eye in the hall followed her. She greeted various dignitaries with perfect grace, her face calm and unreadable. The station administrator, a 4-armed Grelvian named Kor, stepped forward and welcomed her formally. Then he invited her to address the gathering. Velnara's voice was soft but carried clearly through the hall. She spoke in perfect Galactic Common, thanking everyone for their hospitality. She explained the selection tradition and invited worthy candidates to present themselves. Her words were polite, diplomatic, and completely emotionless. Tae-Yang felt sorry for her. She looked like a beautiful statue, not a living person. The next day, Tae-Yang was scheduled to give a presentation on human culture and biology. It was part of the Coalition's ongoing effort to help other species understand humanity better. He didn't expect many attendees. Most aliens found human topics boring. He was surprised when the lecture hall was nearly full. Even more surprised when he saw Velnara sitting in the back row, her attendants beside her. Tae-Yang tried to focus on his presentation. He talked about human emotions, about how humans formed deep bonds with each other. He explained concepts like love, friendship, and loyalty. He showed brain scans demonstrating how human brains lit up when they thought about people they cared about. "Humans pair bond differently than most species," he explained. "We don't choose partners based on logic or politics alone. We feel something we call love. It's not always rational. Sometimes it's inconvenient, but it's one of the most important forces in human society." He showed images of human couples, families, friends. He talked about sacrifice, about humans who gave up everything for the people they loved. Throughout his presentation, he noticed Velnara leaning forward, her glowing eyes fixed on his slides. While other aliens seemed bored or confused, she appeared fascinated. After the presentation ended, most of the audience left quickly. Taeyang was packing up his materials when a soft voice spoke behind him. Your species is unusual. He turned to find Velnara standing there alone. Her attendants waited by the door. Thank you, Your Highness, Taeyang said, bowing awkwardly. He wasn't sure of the proper protocol. You said humans choose partners based on emotion, not political advantage? She asked. Yes. I mean, sometimes politics are involved, but mostly people choose who they feel connected to. Connected, she repeated, as if testing the word. What does that feel like? Taeyang blinked. I'm sorry? This connection. This love. What does it feel like? He thought about how to explain it. It feels like finding someone who sees you, really sees you. Not just what you can do for them or what you represent. Someone who makes you want to be better. Someone whose happiness matters more than your own. Velnara's glow dimmed slightly. The Luminari do not have such things. We bond for power, for alliances. Emotion is considered weakness. That sounds lonely, Taeyang said before he could stop himself. She looked at him for a long moment. Yes, she said quietly. It is. Before he could respond, her attendants approached, reminding her of her schedule. She thanked him formally and left. That evening, Hana found Taeyang in the station's human quarters. What did you say to the princess? She demanded. What? Nothing. We just talked about my presentation. Well, she's requested a private meeting with you tomorrow, for cultural research purposes. Is that normal? No. Taeyang, it's not normal. Do you understand what's happening here? The most eligible alien in the galaxy is interested in human culture right before her selection ceremony. This could be good for humanity, or it could blow up in our faces. Just be careful. Be diplomatic. Taeyang nodded, but he couldn't stop thinking about the sadness in Velnara's voice when she admitted to being lonely. The next morning, he met her in a private meeting room. She asked him questions about human relationships for hours. How did humans choose partners? What was dating? What did marriage mean? Could humans love someone their families disapproved of? He answered as honestly as he could, sharing stories about his own parents, about friends who had fallen in love, about the complexity and beauty of human emotional bonds. My parents chose each other, he told her. They had nothing when they met, no money, no status, but they built a life together based on love and respect. They were partners in every sense. And this is common among humans? She asked. Very common. Most humans want to choose their own partners. Velnara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I envy your species, Taeyang. You are free in ways we are not. Over the next several days, they met regularly. Each time, Velnara seemed more comfortable, more willing to show emotion. Her formal mask cracked little by little. Meanwhile, suitors began arriving at the station. Warriors, scientists, merchants, politicians. Each one more impressive than the last. Each one bringing gifts of incredible value. Taeyang watched from a distance as they competed for Velnara's attention. He told himself he was just an observer, a teacher helping an alien understand humanity. Nothing more. But sometimes late at night, he wondered what it would be like if someone like Velnara could truly be free to choose her own path. The private meetings continued. What started as formal cultural research became something different. Velnara asked fewer academic questions and shared more about herself. I have never made a choice that was truly mine, she told Taeyang one evening. They sat in a quiet observation lounge watching stars drift past. Every decision in my life has been made by others. What I study, where I go, who I speak to. Even this selection was not my idea. You could refuse, Taeyang suggested carefully. She laughed, but there was no joy in it. Could I? I am the eldest daughter of the Empress. I exist to serve my empire. Refusal is not possible. That's not fair. Fairness is a human concept. The Luminari care about duty and honor. Don't you care about happiness? Velnara turned to look at him. In the dim light, her glow was softer, more intimate. I did not know happiness was something one could care about until I met you. Until you explained these human ideas. Love, choice, connection. Taeyang felt his heart beat faster. Your Highness, please, when we are alone, call me Velnara. I have heard my title spoken 10,000 times. I would like to hear my name from someone who sees me as more than a princess. Velnara, he said quietly. She smiled, really smiled, and her whole face transformed. For a moment, she looked genuinely happy, but the moment couldn't last. Reality intruded in the form of the approaching selection ceremony. The station buzzed with preparations. More suitors arrived each day. Hana cornered Taeyang in the human quarters one night. People are talking, she said, about you and the princess. We're just talking about culture. Taeyang, I know you. I've worked with you for 3 years. I can see what's happening. You're developing feelings for her. He wanted to deny it, but Hana's expression told him there was no point. It doesn't matter what I feel, he said. She's a princess. She's going to bond with some powerful alien lord, and that will be that. Good. Because if you get involved in this, you could cause an incident. Humanity can't afford that. We're still new to the coalition. We're still proving ourselves. I know that, Hana. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're spending hours alone with a royal alien right before the most important diplomatic ceremony in years. If this goes wrong, it reflects on all of us. Taeyang knew she was right, but knowing didn't stop him from meeting Velnara the next day. They walked through the station's botanical gardens, a massive dome filled with plants from dozens of worlds. Velnara touched the leaves gently, curious about everything. On my world, we grow only useful things, she said. Food, medicine, materials. Beauty for its own sake is considered frivolous. That sounds sad. Everything about my world sounds sad when I compare it to yours. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Taeyang, the selection ceremony is in 3 days. I know. I have narrowed the candidates to 5. There is Krathon, a Draknari warrior. He commands 3 fleets and has never lost a battle. There is Velkun, a Thoranian scientist whose inventions have saved billions of lives. There is Morthos, a merchant prince whose wealth could fund my empire for a century. There is... Velnara, you don't have to tell me this. But I do, because I want to choose none of them. Taeyang's breath caught. What are you saying? I want to choose differently. I want what your parents had. I want to choose based on what I feel, not what benefits my empire most. The selection doesn't work that way. I could make it work that way. I could add a candidate, someone not currently on the list. She was looking directly at him. The meaning was clear. No, Taeyang said immediately. No, absolutely not. Why not? Because it would be a disaster. Your family would be furious, the other suitors would be insulted, and humanity. Velnara, if this went wrong, it could damage human-alien relations for generations. And if it went right? It won't go right. Look at me. I'm nobody. I'm a scientist from a species most of the galaxy considers primitive. I have no fleets, no wealth, no great inventions. I can't offer you anything. You offer me something no one else has, she said softly. You see me, not Princess Velnara, not a political asset, just me. That's not enough. It is to me. Taeyang shook his head. I won't enter the selection. I can't. Ask me anything else. Pain flickered across her face. Her glow dimmed. I understand. It was foolish to ask. She left the garden quickly. Taiyang stood there, hating himself. The next 2 days were torture. Velnara did not request any more meetings. Taiyang threw himself into his work, trying not to think about her, trying not to imagine her bonding with someone else. Hana found him the evening before the ceremony. "You did the right thing," she said. "Did I?" "Yes. This isn't your responsibility. You're not responsible for her happiness." "Then why do I feel like I failed her?" Hana had no answer. That night, Taeyang couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Velnara's words, about the loneliness in her voice, about how she had looked when she said she wanted to choose differently. At midnight, his door chimed. He opened it to find a luminary attendant standing there. "The princess requests your presence," the attendant said stiffly. Taiyang followed him through empty corridors to a private suite. Velnara stood by the window, her back to him. She didn't turn when he entered. "Tomorrow I will stand before thousands," she said. "I will choose Krathon. He is the logical choice. His military power will benefit my empire. The alliance will be celebrated across the galaxy." "Then why did you call me here?" "Because I wanted you to know something. In another life, in another universe, if I had the freedom your species enjoys, I would have chosen you." Taeyang's throat tightened. "Velnara, you don't have to say anything. I know you cannot enter the selection. I know the risks. I am not asking any more. I just wanted you to know that you were right. Connection does exist. Love does exist. I felt it, even if only for a few days." She finally turned to face him. Tears ran down her glowing face. "I will go through with the ceremony tomorrow. I will do my duty, but tonight, I wanted to be honest. I wanted someone to know the truth of what I feel." Taeyang crossed the room without thinking. He stopped just in front of her, close enough to see his reflection in her silver eyes. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm sorry I can't be braver. I'm sorry I'm letting you face this alone. You are not letting me face anything. This is not your burden." But as he left her suite and walked back through the dark corridors, Taeyang realized something. It felt like his burden. It felt like the most important thing in his life. He spent the rest of the night thinking about courage, about what it meant to stand up for something that mattered, about whether protecting humanity's reputation was worth the cost of watching someone he cared about sacrifice her happiness forever. By morning, he still had no answers. The selection ceremony would begin in just a few hours. Whatever happened next would change everything. The Grand Hall of Nexus Prime had been transformed overnight. Banners from 100 worlds hung from the ceiling. Dignitaries from across the galaxy filled thousands of seats arranged in a massive circle around a central platform. Lights sparkled everywhere, but none as bright as the luminary delegation in their places of honor. Taeyang sat in the human section with Hana and the rest of the Earth diplomatic corps. He felt sick to his stomach. "You look terrible," Hana whispered. "I feel terrible." "It's almost over. After today, things can go back to normal." Normal. The word felt meaningless. How could anything be normal after this? The ceremony began with traditional music, strange and beautiful. Then Administrator Kor stepped onto the platform and welcomed everyone. He explained the ancient tradition of the bonding selection, how it strengthened ties between worlds and honored the couple chosen. Finally, Velnara entered. She wore ceremonial robes that seemed made of pure light. Her glow was brilliant, almost painful to look at. She moved with perfect grace to the center platform. Her face was completely blank, showing no emotion at all. She was the beautiful statue again. The person Taeyang had talked with, laughed with, connected with, was gone, hidden behind layers of royal protocol. "Let the candidates come forward," Kor announced. One by one, the suitors approached the platform. Each was more impressive than the last. First came Krathon, the Draknari warrior. He was massive, covered in scales that gleamed like metal. His voice boomed through the hall. "Princess Velnara, I offer you the strength of 3 fleets. I offer you military power that will make your empire unassailable. Choose me, and your enemies will tremble." The crowd applauded. Krathon stepped back, confident. Next came Velkun, the Thranian scientist. He was small and insect-like, but his many eyes sparkled with intelligence. "Princess Velnara, I offer you knowledge. My inventions will advance your civilization by centuries. Choose me, and your people will know prosperity beyond measure." More applause. Velkun joined Krathon. The parade continued. Morthos offered wealth. Greynal offered political alliances. Each candidate brought something magnificent, something that would benefit the Luminari Empire greatly. Velnara stood motionless through it all. She thanked each candidate formally, her voice empty of feeling. Taiyang watched, his hands clenched in his lap. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. Velnara wasn't a prize to be won with offers of power and wealth. She was a person who wanted to be seen, to be chosen for herself. As the last candidate finished speaking, Taiyang stood up. "Wait," he said. Every head in the hall turned toward him. Thousands of alien eyes stared. Hana grabbed his arm. "Taiyang, no! Sit down!" He pulled free and stepped into the aisle. "I wish to enter the selection," he announced. The hall erupted. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. The Luminari delegation stood as one, their glows flaring with anger. Krathon roared something in his own language that sounded like a challenge. Administrator Kor held up his hands for silence. It took several minutes. "Human Taiyang," Kor said carefully. "The selection is for established candidates only. You were not approved." "The princess can add candidates if she wishes," Taiyang said. "It's in the traditional rules. I researched them." All eyes turned to Velnara. She stood frozen on the platform, her glow flickering wildly. Emotions played across her face: shock, hope, fear. "Princess, do you accept this human as a candidate?" Kor asked. The silence stretched. Taiyang could hear his own heartbeat. "Yes," Velnara whispered. Then louder, "Yes, I accept him." Chaos erupted again. A Luminari elder shouted that this was an insult to their entire civilization. Krathon demanded the human be removed. Human diplomats looked ready to faint, but Kor raised his hands again. "The princess has spoken. The human may present his offering." Taiyang walked to the platform. His legs felt weak. Every step felt like moving through water. When he reached the center, he stood before Velnara and looked into her silver eyes. "I have no fleets," he said, his voice carrying through the now silent hall. "I have no inventions that will change your world. I have no wealth, no armies, no political power." "Then what do you offer?" Krathon shouted. "What does a primitive human have that we do not?" Taiyang kept his eyes on Velnara. "I offer to see you, really see you, not as a princess, not as a political asset, but as a person. I offer honesty, partnership, the freedom to make choices based on what you feel, not what benefits empires. I offer you the kind of bond my species believes in, one based on connection, respect, and—" he took a breath, "and love." The hall exploded with noise. Half the aliens seemed outraged. The other half seemed confused. But Taiyang didn't care about them. He only cared about Velnara. She stared at him, her glow pulsing rapidly. Her hands trembled. "Princess," Kor said formally, "you must now choose. Which candidate do you select for your bonding?" Velnara looked at each of the suitors in turn. She looked at her family in their seats, their faces hard with disapproval. She looked at the thousands of witnesses from across the galaxy. Then she looked at Taiyang. She took a step toward Krathon. The warrior smiled triumphantly. But then she stopped. Her whole body shook. She started to say. Her glow flickered wildly. She swayed on her feet. "I cannot," she whispered. Then, in front of everyone, Velnara's legs gave out. She dropped to her knees on the platform. But she wasn't fainting. She was kneeling before Taeyang. She looked up at him, and tears streamed down her glowing face. Her voice broke as she spoke. "Please, please choose me, not the princess, not the alliance I represent. Me, just me. See me the way you said you would. Choose me for who I am, not what I can give you." The hall went completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Taeyang knelt down so they were at eye level. He reached out and gently wiped tears from her face. "I do see you," he said softly. "And I choose you, Velnara, not the princess. You." She let out a sob and fell forward. He caught her, holding her while she cried against his shoulder. Her glow pulsed bright and dim, like a beacon. Then everything exploded into chaos. The luminary delegation rushed forward shouting. Crethon roared in fury and started toward the platform. Human diplomats were yelling. Security forces moved to contain the situation. Administrator Kor's voice boomed over the noise. "The selection is complete. The princess has made her choice." But a luminary elder, her uncle, Taeyang realized, pushed through the crowd. "This selection is invalid," he shouted. "The princess has disgraced herself and our entire empire. She will return home immediately to face the consequences of this mockery." Velnara pulled back from Taeyang, her face suddenly terrified. "No," she said. "Please, no." "You have no choice," her uncle said coldly. "You have shamed us all." Crethon stepped forward, his voice dangerous. "The human has insulted us all. I challenge him to combat. Let us see if his words are backed by strength." Taeyang stood up, pulling Velnara to her feet. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. "I accept your challenge," he said, "but not here, not now. This is a legal matter. Let the coalition decide if what happened today was valid under galactic law." Administrator Kor seized on this. "Yes, a tribunal. We will convene tomorrow. Until then, both parties will remain on the station." Security moved in to separate everyone. As luminary guards surrounded Velnara, she reached out and grabbed Taeyang's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "Whatever happens next, thank you for seeing me." Then she was pulled away, surrounded by her angry family and taken from the hall. Taeyang stood alone on the platform watching her go. His heart pounded, his hands shook. What had he done? What had he started? Hana appeared at his side, her face pale. "Taeyang," she said quietly, "I hope you know what you're doing, because tomorrow the entire galaxy is going to be watching." The tribunal chamber was smaller than the grand hall, but far more intimidating. 5 judges sat at a high bench, one from each of the major coalition powers. They would decide if Velnara's choice was valid or if the entire selection would be declared void. Taeyang sat at a table with Daiho, a human legal expert who had arrived on an emergency transport overnight. Daiho was young but brilliant, one of the few humans who truly understood galactic law. "Remember," Daiho whispered as the chamber filled, "let me do most of the talking. Only speak when asked directly. And whatever you do, stay calm." Across the room, Velnara sat with the luminary delegation. She looked exhausted, her glow dim. Her uncle and several other family members surrounded her like guards. She kept trying to look at Taeyang, but they blocked her view. Crethon and the other rejected suitors sat in another section, glaring daggers at Taeyang. The head judge, an ancient Thranian named Elder Sal, called the tribunal to order. "We are here to determine 3 things," Elder Sal announced. "First, was the selection ceremony conducted properly? Second, is the princess's choice valid under galactic law? Third, if valid, what are the legal consequences?" The prosecution went first. A luminary lawyer stood and addressed the court. Your Honors, this entire situation is a farce. The human Taiyang manipulated Princess Velnara using emotional exploitation. Humans are known for their manipulative emotions. They use these feelings to trick more logical species. The princess did not make a genuine choice. She was confused, overwhelmed by human tactics she could not understand. The lawyer presented brain scans, testimony from Luminari doctors claiming Velnara had been in an emotionally compromised state. They argued that humans were too primitive to bond with advanced species like the Luminari. Taiyang felt his anger rising, but Deho put a hand on his arm. "Stay calm," Deho whispered. "Let them make their case." Next, Krathon was called to testify. The massive warrior glared at Taiyang as he spoke. "The human has no honor. He offers nothing of value. He entered the selection at the last moment to create chaos. This was not a genuine offer. It was a trick to embarrass us all." Other suitors echoed similar complaints. Then Velnara's uncle took the stand. "My niece is young and impressionable," he said coldly. "She became fascinated with human emotion, like a child fascinated with a new toy. This is not the basis for a legitimate bonding. She must return home where she can be guided properly." The prosecution rested. Now it was the defense's turn. Deho stood smoothly. "Your Honors, the prosecution wants you to believe that emotion is manipulation. That feeling is weakness. But I will prove that Princess Velnara made the most genuine choice anyone in this room has ever made." He called his first witness, Yuna, a human sociologist who specialized in bonding behaviors. Yuna presented research on emotional connections across dozens of species. She showed that genuine bonds created synchronized brain patterns, measurable chemical responses, and behavioral changes that could not be faked. "The human brain releases specific chemicals when forming genuine attachments," Yuna explained. "These responses are involuntary. They cannot be manufactured through manipulation." "Can you test for these responses?" a judge asked. "Yes. With permission, I can scan both Taiyang and Princess Velnara's brains." The judges conferred briefly, then agreed. Velnara was brought forward. She and Taiyang were placed in scanner chairs side by side. Yuna ran the scan while showing them images of each other, of other beings, of random objects. The results appeared on a large screen. When they saw images of each other, their brain patterns lit up identically. The synchronized neural activity was impossible to miss. "These patterns cannot be faked," Yuna said firmly. "What we're seeing is genuine emotional bonding. Both subjects show the same responses. This is not manipulation. This is connection." The Luminari lawyer objected. "This proves nothing. Humans are emotional creatures. Of course they show these patterns. But my client was confused, led astray." "Then let's ask her," Deho said. He turned to the judges. "Your Honors, I request that Princess Velnara be allowed to testify. Let her speak for herself." The judges agreed. Velnara was called to the witness stand. She walked slowly, her glow still dim. But when she spoke, her voice was clear. "I was not manipulated," she said. "I was not confused. For the first time in my life, I made a choice based on what I felt. Not what I was told to feel." "Princess," Elder Sal said gently, "please explain what you mean." Velnara took a deep breath. "I am royalty. I have been trained since birth to put my empire first, to never consider my own desires, to see every interaction as a political opportunity. But when I met Taeyang, he did not treat me as a princess. He treated me as a person. He answered my questions honestly. He shared his culture with me. And for the first time, I understood what I had been missing." "And what was that?" the judge asked. "The freedom to be myself, to be seen for who I am, not what I represent." "But you have responsibilities," her uncle interjected from his seat. "You cannot abandon your duty for selfish desire." Velnara turned to face him. "Is it selfish to want to be happy?" Is it selfish to want a partner who values me, not just my political connections? You arranged this selection. You chose the candidates. You decided everything. The only thing I was allowed to decide was which pre-approved choice to accept. That is how it has always been done, her uncle said stiffly. Then maybe it is time for change, Velnara said quietly. She looked at Taeyang. He asked me what love felt like. I did not know, but now I do. It feels like being understood. It feels like someone choosing you, not what you can do for them. It feels like freedom. Tears ran down her glowing face again. I knelt before him and begged him to choose me because I wanted someone to make a choice based on who I am. Just once. Just one time in my entire life, I wanted someone to choose Velnara. Not Princess Velnara. The chamber was silent. Even the prosecution lawyer seemed moved. Daiho spoke again. Your Honors, the defense calls one more witness. Mirai, Princess Velnara's younger sister. A younger luminary woman stepped forward nervously. She was clearly afraid, but she raised her head and spoke. I support my sister's choice, Mirai said. I have watched her suffer under the weight of duty our entire lives. She has never been allowed to choose anything for herself. When she told me about Taeyang, about his culture and his kindness, I saw her glow brighten in a way it never had before. That is not manipulation. That is genuine happiness. Mirai looked at the judges. I beg you not to take this away from her. She deserves one choice of her own. The prosecution tried to discredit Mirai, but she stood firm. Finally, the judges called for closing arguments. The luminary lawyer argued tradition, duty, and the importance of political alliances. Daiho argued freedom, individual rights, and the importance of genuine choice. Then the judges deliberated. It took 3 hours. Taeyang sat with his stomach in knots. Velnara looked ready to faint. Finally, Elder Sal spoke. We have reached a decision. The selection ceremony was conducted according to traditional law. Princess Velnara's addition of a final candidate was within her rights. The evidence shows her choice was genuine, not manufactured. Therefore, we rule the bonding valid. Taeyang felt relief wash over him. Velnara's glow brightened. But Elder Sal continued. However, there are consequences. The Luminary Empire has the right to respond to choices they find unacceptable. Princess Velnara, your family may strip you of your titles and inheritance. The Empire may choose not to recognize this bond. Are you willing to accept these consequences? Velnara stood. Yes, I am. And you, human Taeyang, you may face retaliation from rejected suitors. Your relationship may cause tension between humanity and other species. Are you willing to accept these consequences? Taeyang stood as well. Yes, I am. Elder Sal nodded slowly. Then this tribunal declares the bonding valid and legal. Princess Velnara and Taeyang are recognized as bonded partners under coalition law. The chamber erupted. Velnara's uncle shouted that she was no longer his family. Krathon stormed out, but Mirai was crying happy tears. Velnara ran to Taeyang. He caught her in his arms, holding her tight while she trembled. It's over, he whispered. You're free. We're free, she corrected. Together. But as they held each other, Taeyang knew this was just the beginning. They had won the legal battle. Now they had to face the real world and all the consequences their choice had created. 6 months passed. 6 months of building a new life together. Taeyang and Velnara had taken a small apartment on Nexus Prime. It was nothing like the palace she had grown up in, but she loved it. She had chosen every piece of furniture herself, something she had never been allowed to do before. They both continued their work. Taeyang still studied alien cultures. Velnara, stripped of her royal duties, had started something new. She began counseling other aliens who struggled with arranged bonds or felt trapped by their cultures. Word spread quickly, and soon she had more requests than she could handle. Another message from a Draknari couple, Velnara said one morning, reading her communicator. They saw what we did and found the courage to refuse their own arranged bonding. They want advice on how to choose their own partners. Taiyang smiled. That's the 5th message this week. 6th, she corrected. Her glow pulsed happily. She was so different now. She smiled easily. She laughed. She had opinions about everything and wasn't afraid to share them. But not everything was easy. The Luminari Empire had officially disowned Velnara. Her family refused all contact, except for Mirai, who sent secret messages when she could. Many species still viewed their relationship with suspicion or disgust. Taiyang had faced threats, insults, and several physical confrontations. Hana visited them regularly. She had eventually come to support their choice, though she still worried. The human government wants you both to speak at the upcoming coalition summit, she told them one afternoon. They think your story could help improve interspecies relations. What's the summit about? Taiyang asked. Relationship and bonding laws across member species. Your case has started a huge debate. Some species want stricter rules. Others want to reform their systems to allow more individual choice. Velnara and Taiyang looked at each other. We'll do it, Velnara said. The summit took place 3 weeks later in the same grand hall where the selection had occurred. Taiyang felt strange returning to the place where everything had changed. Thousands of delegates filled the hall. Taiyang and Velnara stood on the central platform together. Velnara spoke first. 6 months ago, I knelt before this human and begged him to choose me. Many of you were shocked. Some were disgusted. You thought I had abandoned my duty, disgraced my people. But I did not abandon anything. I found something. She paused, looking out at the crowd. I found myself. For my entire life, I existed only as a tool for others to use. I was the princess, the alliance, the political asset. I was never just Velnara. But this human saw me. He gave me the space to make my own choice. And that choice changed everything. Taiyang took over. Many species here believe emotion is weakness. That logic should guide all decisions. But humans have learned something important. The strongest bonds are not built on logic alone. They are built on understanding, on respect, on genuine connection. These things cannot be calculated or arranged. They must be chosen. A delegate from the Draknari delegation stood up. Taiyang tensed, expecting hostility. But the delegate spoke calmly. I am Krathon, the warrior said. The human rejected me at the selection. I was angry. I felt insulted. But in the months since, I have watched them. I have seen how they support each other, how they face challenges together, and I have begun to question my own culture. The hall went silent. I am bonded to a mate I did not choose, Krathon continued. She was selected by my family for her military connections. We are both warriors. We are both strong. But we are not happy. We do not understand each other. And I find myself wondering, what if we had been given the choice these two were given? He sat down heavily. Around the hall, Taiyang saw others nodding. Then, unexpectedly, a door opened and someone else entered. Taiyang's heart stopped. It was Velnara's mother, the Luminari Empress herself. The entire hall stood as she walked to the platform. Velnara's face went pale. Mother, she whispered. The Empress looked at her daughter for a long moment. Then she turned to address the assembly. I come here not as an empress, but as a mother, and as someone who made a bonded choice 3 centuries ago. Gasps echoed through the hall. My bonding was arranged by my family. I was told it would strengthen our empire. I was told duty came before personal desire. I obeyed. And for 300 years, I have lived with a partner I respect, but do not love. A partner who respects me but does not love me. She looked at Velnara again. When my daughter refused her duty, I was furious. I felt betrayed. But then I watched what happened next. I saw her happiness. I saw her thrive in ways she never had before. And I realized something painful. I was not angry because she had failed. I was angry because she had succeeded where I had failed. She had the courage I never possessed. The Empress's voice broke slightly. I cannot publicly support what my daughter did. My empire would not accept it. But I can tell her here and now that I am proud of her. She chose freedom over duty, love over politics. That takes greater courage than any battle, any negotiation, any empire building. Velnara ran to her mother, tears streaming down her face. They embraced for the first time in months. The Empress held her daughter tightly. I am sorry I could not give you the freedom you deserved, the Empress whispered, loud enough for the hall to hear. But I am glad you took it for yourself. As they separated, the Empress addressed the assembly one final time. Perhaps it is time for all our species to reconsider what we value. Is an empire built on unhappiness truly strong? Are bonds formed without genuine connection truly meaningful? These humans, these young species we have looked down upon, have reminded us of something we forgot. That individuals matter, that happiness matters, that choice matters. She left the hall, but her words remained. Over the next hours, delegate after delegate stood and shared their own stories, arranged bonds that had failed, relationships that had brought misery. Children raised in loveless homes. A pattern emerged across dozens of species and cultures. The old ways were not working. By the end of the summit, a resolution was proposed. Member species would be encouraged to allow more individual choice in bonding decisions. No one would be forced to accept arranged partnerships. Support systems would be created for those who chose differently from their cultures. It was a small step, but it was a beginning. That evening, Taeyang and Velnara walked through the botanical gardens where they had first talked about the selection. Do you ever regret it? Taeyang asked. Giving up your title, your family, everything you knew? Velnara stopped and turned to him. Her glow was bright and steady. Not for a single moment. You gave me the greatest gift anyone could give. You let me choose my own life. We both chose, Taeyang said, taking her hands, and we'll keep choosing, every day. A noise made them turn. Elder Sal, the Thranian judge from the tribunal, stood nearby. Forgive the interruption, the elder said. But I wanted you both to know something. I arranged for you to meet. What? Taeyang said, confused. Elder Sal's many eyes sparkled. I have lived for 5 centuries. I have watched the galaxy grow cold and calculating. Species became focused on power, on logic, on control. We forgot the things that make life worth living. When I learned a luminary princess was coming here for a selection, and that a human xenobiologist was stationed here, I saw an opportunity. You set this up? Velnara asked. I merely ensured your paths crossed. The rest was your own doing. But I hope that someone, somewhere, would remember what it meant to choose with the heart. You two reminded not just me, but the entire galaxy. He turned to leave, then paused. The future is always built by those brave enough to choose differently. Thank you for your courage. As he left, Taeyang and Velnara looked at each other and laughed. We were pawns in a very old being's plan, Velnara said. Does it matter? Taeyang asked. We still made our own choice. No, it doesn't matter. She kissed him softly. What matters is that we chose each other. In the months that followed, more interspecies couples came forward. More young aliens refused arranged bondings. Cultural discussions spread across the galaxy. Change was slow, but it was happening. Mireille sent a message saying she had refused her own arranged bonding and the Empress had supported her decision. Crethon sent a note saying he and his mate were attending couple counseling and learning to communicate. They were trying to build what they had never had. And every day, Taeyang and Velnara worked together, lived together, and chose each other again and again. One morning, Velnara found Taeyang at the window, watching ships come and go. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "About that first day, when you walked into the hall and I thought you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen." "And now?" "Now I know you're the most beautiful thing I've ever known. Not because of how you look, but because of who you are. Because you were brave enough to kneel before someone and ask to be seen. Because you were strong enough to give up everything for the right to choose." Velnara's glow brightened. "We both were brave. We both chose. And we both got exactly what we wanted." "What's that?" "Freedom. Partnership. Love." She pulled him close, and they stood together, watching the endless stream of ships. Each one carried beings from different worlds, different cultures, different ways of life. But maybe, just maybe, some of them would be inspired to choose their own paths too. The galaxy was changing, one choice at a time. And it had all started with an alien princess who dropped to her knees and begged a human to see her. Not as a title, not as a political asset, but as herself. And he had seen her. He had chosen her. And together, they had chosen freedom.